Welcome back to Fridays with Fidelman. I'm Cheryl Fidelman, the Conscious Codependents Coach. Welcome to all the new people in the community. We had a small influx these last few weeks, so welcome. And so today on Fridays with Fidelman, I'm going to be talking about the commonalities between codependents and narcissists that on many levels we're kind of one and the same. We have a lot of habits and behaviors in common. And one of my intentions for this video is to help dissolve the divide between codependents and narcissists, because it's often like we're on different teams. You're on that side, I'm on this side. We're like kryptonite, we're like oil and water, and yet we often magnetize towards each other. And then there's this tumultuous dynamic because it seems as if we're completely different and together at the same time, but really we're so similar. And that perhaps there could be a lot of peace in that space as opposed to a divide or like an us and them kind of a thing. So, all right, please like or subscribe to my channel, keep the comments coming, and here we go. So I always want to make sure that I stay in my lane in the sense that I'm a certified life coach. I'm not a mental health professional. So I'm not talking about anyone that can be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. So what I'm talking about is somebody who exhibits narcissistic habits or traits, which really could be most of us. And when I say a narcissistic habit or trait is two things. Any moment that somebody is projecting their reality onto another person and believing that only their reality is the main reality that's happening. Only their reality is the reality that's happening. So I project my reality onto you, and that you need to have the same reality as me. So it's like you're a mirror and I just want you to be me and have my brain. And that's not always bad. I feel like narcissism has this like bad, like it's bad. Anytime we use the word, it means bad or negative or bad intentions, or I don't necessarily think it's always bad. I just dropped my microphone, sorry. The other common narcissistic behavior or habit that I cover is anytime we don't or can't get that our behavior has an impact. Which is why oftentimes codependents say, I'm dating a narcissist, or my boss is a narcissist, or my parent or guardian is a narcissist, and they don't see me. They don't see or get their impact on me. And which is why a lot of us codependents walk around going, how come you don't see me? How come you don't see me? How come you don't get me? How come you don't get me? Well, number one, a codependent is willing, either habitually or consciously or unconsciously, we're willing to not be seen and just complain about it, as opposed to either leaving that dynamic and going and having the experience of being seen. Because our nervous system doesn't know the experience of being seen. It only knows the experience of longing to be seen, which is why we attach to these people that we call narcissists, because it's easy for us to long to be seen from a narcissist, because a narcissist will never see you in their moments of narcissism. Not all the time, just talking about moments of narcissistic habits or behaviors, because in those moments, I'm guilty of it. I think we're all guilty of it. Some more extreme than others, and some not just more extreme than others, or more moments than others, or more percentage of the time than others, but we also, some people have less of a return time. In other words, if I do something to you and I don't understand that it impacts you, and I don't understand the impact, you may explain it to me and I go, oh, I understand the impact and I apologize. I understand the impact of my behavior and I apologize. Some people may never see that if you explain it to them. They may never get it. They may never come back and go, oh, I get that what I did impacted you. I get my impact and I get it and I apologize, or I want to take care of that in some way. And so a lot of people just have a longer return time of noticing their impact, or a shorter return time of noticing their impact, or they're just not going to notice it. They're just not going to get it because they themselves are a victim. So in other words, if I impact you and you tell me I impacted you in some way, and I go, there's no way that I impacted you because you impacted me. I'm the victim here, right? And so this is one of the things that codependents and narcissists have in common, is we go, you impacted me. No, you impacted me. No, you impacted me. So everybody's looking at the other person, or however you want to point to the pointing. Everybody's pointing outwards as the source of their experience. So there are many habits or behaviors that can be in the category of narcissistic. But the two that I'm pointing to mainly, and the two that I focus on in my work, because I think that they're the two that trigger and engage the codependent, are not knowing or getting or being able to see the impact of the behavior and projecting the reality. Another thing that codependents and narcissists really have in common, sometimes I don't even like to use the separate word. I mean, like codependents our habits and behaviors are so unbelievably similar. I can't say enough that I want to help dissolve this us and them thing. And also that, to lift this heaviness around the word narcissist and lift this heaviness around the word codependent, because it doesn't have to be that. Certainly these things exist in what one may objectively look at as extreme dysfunctional unhealthy situations. But also there could be narcissistic traits and codependence traits just spattered and sprinkled in what may look like a decent relationship or a decent life or a decently successful life. They're like sort of like sneakily spattered inside of people's psyches, and we're not even realizing it. And there's fighting and people feeling unsafe and having this neutral relationships because of the lack of safety that both people feel, and both people are looking to the other person for their safety. Another thing that some codependents and narcissists have in common is this need to hook into somebody. So the narcissist, it may seem from a codependent's point of view that the narcissist is hooked into us, meaning they need to blame us for things and point out the things that we're doing wrong, and maybe even sometimes make up things that we didn't even do and blame that stuff on us. They have this idea of narcissists having a grandiose view of themselves. And now, of course, I'm not talking about anyone diagnosable in this area. But sometimes, when the person is not diagnosable, this grandiosity idea comes from simply projecting your reality. Your reality is so real to you that you can't see past it. And you need me to comply with your reality because your reality is the only reality. And the thing that we have in common is a codependent also needs to hook into somebody. We need to hook into somebody to prove ourselves, to take care of somebody, to serve somebody, to find our worth and our validation and identity into somebody. Sometimes we need to submit to somebody. We need somebody else to lead our reality. So it's great when a narcissist thinks their reality is the only reality, and then us codependents need a leader of reality. So then we get hooked, and then we complain and complain and complain. Meanwhile, there's 8 billion people on the planet, and we are focused on that one person for our oxygen. Another thing we have in common is that, or maybe I already said this, I'm not sure, is that us codependents try to project our reality onto them too. So we become codependently narcissistic, maybe. I don't even know if we can interchange these words like that, but we become codependently narcissistic when we get kicked into my third tenet of conscious codependence, which is the need to prove ourselves. So I kick into proving to you, so I need you to see and get my reality. And this here goes what I call all the time is the blindness of codependence. We become blind to what you can see and hear. We start to prove. And while we're proving, we're not noticing you can't hear that. And also, while we're proving, we're not noticing that we need you to see and get us, but we're not seeing and getting ourselves. That actually the seeing, getting, and understanding of our own experience is all ultimately we really need. And it's the illusion that we need you to see it. That once you see our point of view, we're going to be safe or something like that. Like once you see how you've wronged us or how you're not making any sense, we'll work so hard to have you see and get that. But we're not getting it for ourselves, that like us getting it isn't enough. We need you to get it. So then oftentimes a codependent and a narcissist moment of disagreement is often like, you get it. You're supposed to get my point of view. No, you're supposed to get my point of view. No, I'm right. No, I'm right. No, you did this. No, you did this, right? And so neither person, both people, another thing that happens is both people shut down their listening. They shut down their ability to see and get and feel energy. And they shut down their ability to see and feel and get themselves. They shut down, both parties are shutting down their relationship with themselves because they need something from the relationship from the other person so bad. One more set of habits and behaviors that I'm going to point to that I think we have in common, and I'll point to more in a later video and also in our free and monthly class that happens November 30th. So one more thing is that oftentimes a codependent thinks a narcissist knows what they're doing. Oh, they know they want power. Or they know they want to pull one over on me. Or they know that they're gaslighting me. Well, odds are they don't know that. Odds are they are just as unconscious to their narcissistic moment, to their narcissistic habit and behavior, than we are to our codependence. Odds are they are just as unconscious to their traumatic identity and the trauma, the early childhood trauma or midlife trauma, whatever it is, that has blinded them to the impact of their behavior. They are just as blind to it to themselves as we are to our own codependent behaviors. And if you think you're right, that they know that they have power and they want power and they are completely conscious in their narcissistic moment, then why would you be with somebody who actually knows that they're hurting you and wants you to be hurt? If you think you're with somebody who's conscious of their narcissistic behavior, then how does that highlight the unconsciousness of your codependent behavior? More than likely, we are ping-ponging back and forth. They're having a narcissistic habit, I'm having a codependent habit. I'm having a narcissistic habit, we're ping-ponging and switching these habits back and forth. And a lot of the times, they are the same thing. Maybe I can come up with a codependent narcissistic mash of a word, like narcissistic or something like that, or nar-dependent or something like that. It's just sometimes it's melded into one thing that we both are doing. We're doing it in our own unique way, not seeing and getting, and this is another thing we have in common, is we're not seeing and getting how we are sourcing our own experience. Both the narcissistic and codependent go, no, you are sourcing this experience. You're the reason why this is happening. And so in these moments, neither one of us can actually sit in the thoughts, sensations, and emotions of the visceral experience of the current moment. We want to get out of how this feels and blame it on you and you should fix it. We want to get out of how we feel by proving and defending. We want to get out of how we feel by the want to be wanted, by the need to be needed, by getting some sort of validation oxygen from you. We are both jumping out of ourselves to get something that we think we need from you. And that is also another thing that we have in common. Avoiding feeling by blaming. Avoiding responsibility by blaming. And this isn't my, Cheryl's, way of blaming the codependent and saying it's all our fault. This is not my way of blaming. It's not my way of inspiring guilt or shame. It is my way of having us codependents, that's my work, conscious codependence. My goal is to liberate the codependent. My goal is not to blame or shame, but to say that we are just as much cause in the matter as the other person or people. We are just as much cause in the matter. That we cause the situation, we cause our experience, we put ourselves where we are, and we have the interpretations that we have. We cause ourselves to be just as much a part of the puzzle as the other person. This is a big access to conscious codependence recovery, is soberly seeing how we contribute to the dynamic, or how we have contributed to the dynamic. I think it's important. I do think that it's important to have some phase of victimhood. That is important. And the healing happens when we can rise above the victimhood and see how we are cause and source of our own life and how it's gone, particularly in our adulthood. I do think that most of us are victims when we're children. It's hard for us to source our own reality when we're children. And when at some point in our lives, we do source our own reality. When we are children, it is kind of true that we're victims to other people's reality and that other people are our leaders, like our parents are our guardians. When we get older, we simply just dub somebody else the leader of our experience, and then we regress and not see or have any relationship to the fact that we're adults now and we can cause and source our own experience and lead our own experience. And instead of numbing out our feelings in order to comply and live in somebody else's reality, which for a lot of us, we had to do that when we were children, which caused lots of trauma, and it caused unconscious behaviors in our nervous system and our traumatic identity, and identifying these and massaging them out is a big part of conscious codependence recovery. A big part of conscious codependence recovery is actually expanding the thresholds for thought, sensation, emotion in our cognition and in our nervous system so that we actually can sit in what it feels like to be impacted by somebody else's behavior. And then when we really feel all of those feelings of the impact, then we can choose, does this work for me or not? Instead of ignoring all of those feelings and then trying to handle the other person. One of the reasons, and this is a big thing that narcissists and codependents have in common, I also think I may have already said this in some other way, which is that we point the finger outside of us as a way of numbing out and not noticing how it's actually feeling inside of us. I'm really passionate about normalizing codependence, codependent habits and behaviors, and normalizing narcissistic habits and behaviors. Huge passion and intention of my work. All right, thank you so much for listening to my thoughts, theories, and rants. $500 Black Friday discount on phase 1 of conscious codependence recovery. So if you feel like now's the time to come in and do this work with me, get your Black Friday $500 discount for the group program that starts in January. Book your free consultation. If you have more questions about that, my booking link is below. Happy Friday, happy healing, and life is now.